If you wonder whether or not you're a perfectionist, there's a good chance that you are, at least to a degree. And you're probably invested in that identity because most of us believe perfectionism is a positive trait. But is it? Psychotherapist Marci Gray is here to break it down with us. And Marci, welcome. Can you start by defining perfectionism for us?
Absolutely. So perfectionism, we sometimes think is just striving to be our best, but it's a little bit more than that. It is actually believing that we're not measuring up. It is feeling like we're falling short no matter what we do. So we overextend ourselves, we overwork, we get a little overworked, and then we feel like we're falling short and we're not good enough. And so this diminishes our self-worth in the end because we feel like we're never measuring up.
Now, are there different types of perfectionism?
There are three different types of perfectionism. So, socially prescribed perfectionism, this is when you feel like others feel like you're not measuring up. So, you think that others feel like you are just not at the level that you should be. And so, you always feel like others have this expectation of you, and you're always afraid of rejection. So, this is the socially prescribed, and it can lead to hopelessness, depression, and even suicide. So you want to be mindful if this is the type that you have. The other oriented perfectionism is when you are feeling like other people are not measuring up. So it's like, give me that, I'll do it myself. Or you're always feeling like, your partner's not measuring up or your children are not measuring up. So you have these critical views and expectations of others that are sometimes unrealistic as well. And then the third type is self-oriented perfectionism. And that's when it's striving from within. So always feeling like you have to get the A, always feeling like you have to be the best on your team, always feeling like you need to strive and overachieve.
Okay, well, I feel attacked right now. Let's talk a little bit about striving for perfectionism because it can be problematic. Why is it problematic, Marci?
It's problematic because living in this world where you're always feeling like you're not good enough can lead us to anxiety, can lead us to depression, can lead us feeling frustrated, right? Because we're always feeling like we're just not measuring up no matter what we do. And so we're working harder and overextending ourselves to always feel like we're measuring up.
Okay, so I know that I'm not the only one that sees myself reflected in some of these words. I'm sure there are people at home thinking, ooh, is that me? So how do you identify that you are a perfectionist? I know there's sort of a quiz you can do or questions you can ask.
Yes, so usually I do a full extensive set of questions, but today let's do 5 of them and see how you do, Tracy.
Okay, I'm nervous. Go ahead.
All right, question number 1. Do you often feel you should do better than you did, or you should have done better than you did?
No, I'd say for sure before. Right now, no.
Good. Okay, good. So number 2, do you tend to put things off until you have time to do them perfectly?
Yes.
All right, because a lot of the time procrastination and perfectionism actually go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
All right, number 3, are you afraid to fail when working on something really important?
Oh, yes. I would say I'm not afraid to fail generally because I fail often and make mistakes a ton. But if it's something important, I won't sleep. I'll put a lot of energy into it. I'll keep trying to perfect it. So yeah, for sure.
Okay, so yes on that one. Number 4, are you really hard on yourself if you repeat a mistake?
No, because I repeat mistakes often. So I've let that go.
Excellent, excellent. That's well balanced. That's awesome. And number 5, are you afraid that people will think less of you if you fail?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think maybe a little bit, yeah. I think that not as much as before, but there's still a bit of me that's like, they're going to think that I shouldn't be here. They're going to think I don't belong here. Like sort of the imposter syndrome steps in. Like I need to nail this. I need to do this properly. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of yes in that one.
So what we want to consider is how many yeses that we had as we were going through these questions. And if we had 4 or more, you want to consider maybe looking after that and maybe looking into getting some support for perfectionism.
Okay, so I'm okay, right? Right, Doc? Am I okay?
I think you're okay.
Okay. Let's talk about the primary steps to combat it. So now we know it's not great. It's not great to have it. You're going to be constantly putting yourself to a standard that's unachievable. What do we do to start moving away from perfectionism?
So number one is look at the cost that it's having on your life, right? So a lot of times we feel like we need to be perfectionists because sometimes there's a bit of a payoff, right? We strive, we do all these things, and then it turns out great. And so next time we feel like we have to work even harder. But what we want to look at is the cost in terms of our self-esteem, our self-worth. Is it really impacting how we talk to ourselves about ourselves? Are we falling into depression and anxiety, those kinds of things? And then number two, we want to actually start challenging some of our thinking. So if we're thinking things like, if I make a mistake, they're going to think I'm a complete idiot, right? We want to challenge some of that thinking because really, will they think that or they just think that you're human? Celebrate your successes, so important. Celebrate your successes and also be okay with your failures and mistakes. We're human, it's a part of life, and being okay with that also helps to combat some of the perfectionism. And then lastly, if you feel like some of this is you, if you've scored 4 out of 5 on the quiz, if you feel like we're describing you, then please do see a therapist who can help you work through some of this perfectionism, especially if you're finding that you have unhappiness, depression, anxiety, or a lot of frustration in your life.
Mars, great information. Thank you so much for reframing perfectionism.